Welcome, listeners, to Global Mysteries, Urban Legends, the podcast where mysterious, spine-chilling tales from around the world come alive. Each week, we delve into the eerie, the unexplained, and the stories that blur the line between myth and reality. Tonight, we journey to one of Scotland's most haunted locations, Greyfriars Kirkyard, where the infamous Mackenzie poltergeist has terrorized visitors for decades. Is this the restless spirit of a brutal persecutor, or just an elaborate urban myth? Let's find out together. Tonight, we venture deep into the heart of Edinburgh's dark history, to a place where the veil between the living and the dead is said to be dangerously thin, Greyfriars Kirkyard. For centuries, this ancient graveyard has been the final resting place for thousands of souls, but one spirit stands apart from all the others, the infamous Mackenzie poltergeist. Legend has it that this restless entity, bound to the Black Mausoleum, is none other than Sir George Mackenzie, a man whose cruelty earned him the name Bluidy Mackenzie. As Lord Advocate during the 17th century, Mackenzie was responsible for the brutal persecution and execution of countless Covenanters. But death didn't stop his reign of terror. Since his tomb was disturbed in the late 1990s, visitors have reported strange and violent encounters, people fainting, sudden scratches appearing on their skin, and eerie cold winds when no one else is near. Is this merely the power of suggestion, or is something far more sinister at play? Many believe Mackenzie's vengeful spirit still prowls the grounds, lashing out at those who dare come too close. Tonight, we unravel the terrifying truth behind the Mackenzie poltergeist, one of Scotland's most feared paranormal phenomena. But be warned, some say even speaking his name invites his wrath. Will you dare to join us? Greyfriars Kirkyard, nestled in the heart of Edinburgh, dates back to the 16th century and holds more than just the echoes of history within its walls. Established in 1561, this ancient graveyard became the final resting place for many of the city's notable figures, from scholars and merchants to criminals and paupers. But over the centuries, Greyfriars has gained a far more sinister reputation. The cemetery's dark history begins with the Greyfriars Kirk itself, built on land once used as a Franciscan friary. The kirkyard quickly filled with bodies during the plague years and later became a grim symbol of religious persecution. It was here, in the late 1600s, that hundreds of Scottish Covenanters, those who opposed King Charles II's religious reforms, were imprisoned in a brutal makeshift prison known as the Covenanters' Prison. Many died in the yard, succumbing to disease, starvation, and the harsh punishments inflicted on them by the infamous Sir George Mackenzie. But Greyfriars Kirkyard is more than just a relic of Edinburgh's grim past. It has become a magnet for ghost hunters and thrill-seekers alike, drawn by tales of apparitions, eerie footsteps, and the legendary Mackenzie poltergeist. A place where the dead don't rest easy, and where history and the paranormal seem forever intertwined. At the center of the terrifying legend that haunts Greyfriars Kirkyard lies the figure of Sir George Mackenzie, a man whose name still strikes fear into the hearts of many. Known as Bluidy Mackenzie, Sir George was a feared and hated figure in 17th century Scotland. As Lord Advocate under King Charles II, Mackenzie was tasked with quelling the rebellious Covenanters, those who defied the king's attempts to control the Church of Scotland. His methods were as ruthless as they were bloody. Between 1679 and 1688, Mackenzie oversaw the brutal persecution of thousands of Covenanters. He was responsible for imprisoning, torturing, and executing those who refused to bend to royal authority. Many of his victims perished in the nearby Covenanters' prison, a grim section of Greyfriars Kirkyard itself. The sheer cruelty with which Mackenzie dispatched his enemies earned him the nickname Bluidy Mackenzie, a title that has echoed through the centuries. When Mackenzie died in 1691, his body was interred in the Black Mausoleum, a grand and imposing tomb located in Greyfriars Kirkyard. But death did little to dull his fearsome reputation. In fact, it's within the Black Mausoleum that paranormal activity is said to have begun. After his tomb was disturbed in 1999 by a homeless man seeking shelter, a wave of eerie and violent events started to unfold. Visitors have reported sudden injuries, scratches, and unexplained fainting spells near the tomb, leading many to believe that Sir George Mackenzie's vengeful spirit still prowls the graveyard, unwilling to rest. Is this malevolent force the ghost of Bluidy Mackenzie himself, forever tied to the persecution he wrought in life? Or is something darker lurking within the Black Mausoleum, awakened by the violation of Mackenzie's final resting place? To truly understand the haunting legacy of Sir George Mackenzie, we must delve deeper into his life. A life marked by ambition, power, and unyielding cruelty. Born in 1636 into a prominent Scottish family, Mackenzie was educated at the University of Edinburgh, where he excelled in law. His rise in the legal and political spheres was rapid. By the age of 25, he was already serving as an advocate in the Scottish Parliament. His intelligence and charisma won him favour with King Charles II, who appointed him as Lord Advocate in 1670. However, Mackenzie's tenure was marked by a turbulent period in Scotland, characterised by political and religious strife. The Covenanters, a group of Scottish Presbyterians, resisted the king's attempts to impose episcopacy on the Church of Scotland. This resistance led to widespread unrest, and Mackenzie became a key figure in the royalist crackdown on dissent. He played a crucial role in the infamous Killing Times, when thousands of Covenanters were hunted down, imprisoned, and executed. Mackenzie's tactics were brutal. He believed that harsh measures were necessary to restore order. He oversaw the establishment of military courts, where suspected Covenanters were tried without fair representation and often sentenced to death. Many were executed publicly, while others were subjected to horrific punishments, such as being sent to the Caribbean as indentured servants or imprisoned in the dire conditions of Greyfriars. The brutality of Mackenzie's actions earned him widespread hatred among the Covenanters, and he was seen as a symbol of oppression. Yet, despite the fear he instilled, he was also a complex figure, known for his legal writings and contributions to the Scottish legal system. Some of his legal reforms would later influence the development of Scottish law. However, his death in 1691 did not mark the end of his influence. The dark legacy of Bluidy Mackenzie lived on, with his name becoming synonymous with tyranny and bloodshed. As his body was laid to rest in the Black Mausoleum, the resentment and anger from the Covenanters was said to linger in the air. With the disturbance of his tomb in the late 1990s, those lingering emotions seemed to awaken a force that many believe is now the Mackenzie Poltergeist, a spirit that embodies the vengeance of the wronged and the restless. Today, as visitors wander through Greyfriars Kirkyard, they can't help but feel the weight of history pressing down upon them, wondering if the ghost of Sir George Mackenzie still roams the graveyard, watching and waiting for his next victim. The legend of the Mackenzie Poltergeist truly began in 1999, when an event took place that would awaken the dormant spirit of Sir George Mackenzie and unleash a wave of terrifying encounters in Greyfriars Kirkyard. It all started when a homeless man sought refuge from the elements and broke into the Black Mausoleum, the final resting place of Mackenzie. Little did he know that this act of trespassing would disturb a spirit that had remained undisturbed for over 300 years. After spending the night inside the mausoleum, The man emerged with claims of experiencing something otherworldly. A chilling encounter that would mark the beginning of a series of frightening incidents. Soon after this disturbance, reports began to surface from visitors and ghost hunters who ventured into Greyfriars Kirkyard. Those who came near the Black Mausoleum described being struck by sudden waves of cold air, even on the warmest of days. Several chilling accounts from visitors and ghost hunters add to the eerie tapestry of the Mackenzie Poltergeist legend, each story more unsettling than the last. One particularly harrowing tale comes from a couple who visited Greyfriars Kirkyard during a guided ghost tour. As they approached the Black Mausoleum, they felt an overwhelming sense of dread wash over them. The woman suddenly experienced a sharp pain on her back, only to find 3 deep scratches appearing, as if clawed by an unseen hand. In a state of shock, she recounted that she felt a cold breath on her neck just before the incident, leaving her shaken and terrified. Another haunting incident involved a group of paranormal investigators who set out to document the spirit's activity. Equipped with cameras and EVP, electronic voice phenomenon recorders, they gathered near the mausoleum. As they conducted their session, one investigator felt an icy grip around his wrist. He described it as if a cold hand had clenched him, causing him to stumble backward in fear. The group later reviewed their recordings and was astonished to hear whispers, seemingly from Mackenzie himself, warning them to leave. Perhaps one of the most terrifying accounts comes from a local tour guide who, during one of her regular evening tours, noticed a figure lurking behind the mausoleum. As she approached, the figure vanished, but a group of tourists suddenly fell to the ground, paralyzed by a wave of nausea. They reported feeling as if they were being watched and that something sinister was lurking just out of sight. The guide recalled, "You could feel the air change. It was like stepping into a different world, one filled with anger and despair." Another visitor recounted her experience in a chilling Facebook post. She and her friends were near the mausoleum when one of them suggested they take a photo. Just as the camera clicked, the group heard a loud thud behind them. Turning around, they saw nothing. But when they checked the photo, a dark, shadowy figure loomed ominously in the background, its features indistinguishable, yet undeniably menacing. TV programs like Most Haunted and Scariest Places on Earth dedicated entire episodes to the phenomenon, with crew members reporting strange occurrences during filming, such as malfunctioning equipment and sudden drops in temperature near the mausoleum. One notable investigation in the early 2000s involved a well-known paranormal group who conducted a late-night stakeout in Greyfriars. They equipped themselves with infrared cameras, motion sensors, and EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, recorders. Throughout the night, they recorded unusual temperature fluctuations around the Black Mausoleum, drops so extreme that frost formed on the ground in midsummer. Their EVP session also yielded strange, disembodied voices, whispers of anger that seemed to echo Mackenzie's cruel legacy. But perhaps the most compelling evidence came from a local newspaper journalist who was invited to accompany a ghost tour one stormy night. Armed with skepticism, he ventured into Greyfriars with the group, taking photos and recording his experience. During the tour, the journalist felt a sudden pressure on his chest, as though an unseen hand was trying to push him backward. Startled, he quickly snapped a photo, only to discover a strange, misty shape hovering near the mausoleum when he later reviewed the images. This photograph, published in the newspaper, stirred further intrigue and drew even more attention to the legend. Some claim to have recorded eerie sounds, while others captured shadowy figures on camera, further fueling the legend. Among the chilling anecdotes was the account of a paranormal investigator who was reportedly thrown to the ground by an unseen force while standing near the Black Mausoleum. He later discovered deep scratches on his arm, which were consistent with the accounts of others who had faced similar assaults. The Mackenzie Poltergeist has since become a cultural touchstone for ghost hunters and thrill seekers alike, with tours offering visitors a chance to confront the malevolent spirit that has become a modern urban legend. The name Bluedy Mackenzie has now taken on a new life, transforming from a figure of historical cruelty into a ghostly menace that continues to haunt Greyfriars Kirkyard, compelling those who dare to enter to question what lies beyond the grave. But as the legend grows, so do the questions. Is the Mackenzie Poltergeist truly a manifestation of Sir George Mackenzie's anger and torment? Or is it a more sinister force at play, something that feeds off the fear and energy of the living? As we delve deeper into this haunting tale, we must confront the chilling possibility that not all spirits rest in peace. That wraps up today's episode of Urban Legends. We hope you enjoyed diving into the chilling story of the Mackenzie Poltergeist and the haunted grounds of Greyfriars Kirkyard. If you loved today's spine-tingling tale, don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share the podcast. It helps us bring more mysterious and eerie stories to your ears. And don't miss our next episode, where we travel across the Atlantic to New Orleans, USA, to uncover the dark and gruesome history of the LaLaurie Mansion. Known for its horrifying past and the restless spirits said to haunt its halls, this is one haunted house you won't want to miss. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time for another dive into the world of urban legends. Stay spooky.